There we go.
So, just to let you guys in, Sean and I were talking, and Dave came in, and it was like, dude, he is not awake. Like, there is something going on here. Just like, he just looks like he's still.
It looks like he
literally
woke up 10
sleeping.
minutes ago, but 5 minutes ago, someone beat the hell out of him.
All of you.
I will just share, this is an early something cool, but I was listening back because, sometimes you just don't want to listen to anything that's worthwhile. And I was scrolling through the Worst Show Ever archives because I've listened to all the recent ones. And I listened to the Summit show. So this is the first Summit. This is the one where Dave...
Is this Rules for Meeting Dave?
No. This was the Worst Summit recap ever or something like that. And it was after we'd come back, and we told the story of the Airbnb and the giant blood stain.
Oh.
We told the story of...
did she die?
We told the story of did she die, and about when I was going over to meet Molly, James's wife, and Dave had just told the worst story ever, and everybody was shell-shocked. Everybody was like, "Aw." There's some great stuff in that one.
Everybody's just in a cold sweat.
Yeah.
It's very upsetting to travel with Dave.
Parties.
Yeah, it's misery. Dave's like a rain cloud that you can't be barefoot in front of.
I'm barefoot right now.
Me too.
Oh God, I can't do this show.
Dave, what percentage of the
John's
time
also
are you
naked
barefoot?
from the waist down.
Usually.
What?
What percentage of time are you barefoot?
When I'm in the shower.
Is that really it? Do you wear shoes to bed?
He's got an airlock for his feet for the shower. Like, there's a situation where he puts something on before taking things off for the shower.
I wear socks to bed. I don't wear shoes to bed. I would if I could.
So your toes never have a chance to breathe.
Yeah, what the fuck do they need a chance to breathe? They got socks. You can breathe through that. They're fine.
So in moving the show forward, I'll just address Beth Farrar said, "Are you guys in Texas okay?" Yes, in where Sean and I are, it was like, oh, it rained. Like, and for those of you who are listening to this out of time, that we're recording this after Hurricane Harvey, which was kind of a non-event in at least Hill Country, Austin, but Houston, wow. We talked to Kevin Tumlinson a few days ago, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm still here, but not driving anywhere for a few days."
Yeah, we lost a couple of trees in the neighborhood, and they're big trees too. And kind of scary the way they fell, but none seem to have missed anything. In fact,
None missed anything. They hit everything.
I mean, none that I can see hit
up.
anything substantial. And in fact, one right around the corner, there's this old, really vintage Mercedes, just like probably from the 50s. And
From a hipster, right?
Yeah. No, actually, it's a really old couple that lives there. They probably owned it originally. Like the car's old, they're old, but it's parked right in front of their house, and it's always just parked there. And this big giant tree, like huge, fell over like this much behind the car. Just missed it.
He's saying a foot for you auditory people.
Yeah, right behind the car. So that's kind of neat. It's not neat that the tree fell.
That story stopped dead. There was no break.
It's not neat that the tree fell.
I'm surprised the news hasn't called you yet.
It's neat that it missed their car, because they really do seem like the sweetest couple, and that would suck to have this car that they probably had forever.
The tree would fall through their house and kill them.
Yeah, right.
Did he die?
Did he die?
So that's that. Us living through a hurricane rather than Dave this time, which is an interesting.
Oh, don't worry. There's one forming.
I saw
Is
that.
there seriously one forming right now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Is it called Hurricane Dave?
Hurricane, I'm gonna get you, sucker.
What? I'm gonna get you, sucker reference. It's been a while.
Every now and then.
Yeah.
How much for just one rib?
Really enjoyed them. Only just one rib. All right. So who's got something cool?
I'll go.
All right.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. Well, like everybody leans forward.
Boom, step back, bitches.
What is it, Uncle Dave?
Well, it's a little thing called YouTube TV. Is that in Austin yet?
I wouldn't know if it was.
Okay. If it is, you got to get it. I'm telling you, I'm surprised that I'm in a market that gets it, because it's not rolled out everywhere, but holy crap. Okay. I don't. What do y'all pay for cable a month? Just cable. It's
I
a
actually
lot.
don't know.
Yeah, it's typically over $100. Like
Oh yeah.
premium channels. Okay, so YouTube TV is offering like 35 or 45 channels. So basically all the networks. The deal is any market it goes into, it has to have at least 3 of the 4 networks, I believe, or all 4. Most of the markets has all 4. And it has ESPN, the primary cable channels. It doesn't have HGTV. I don't think it has a cooking channel, but it's got most of the stuff that we watch at our house. And it is only $35 a month. Okay, this is going to be like an ad. Okay, it's only $35. It's $35.
Are we
Anything to
sponsored by?
lose?
Can you find anything about Hitler on these YouTube
Okay,
channels?
hold on. Check this out though. Okay, one of the things I hate about cable is like if you have a DVR, you pay like $10 or more a month for a DVR box.
Yeah, that's true. I do.
And you pay another $10 to $12 a month for the DVR service.
Yes, that's true. I do. And I hate it every month. I'm like,
Yeah,
and I never use it because I use Hulu for like 99% of anything I'm
Well,
going to watch.
I do
TV
use
anyway.
it because when you got a kid, you're always pausing shit. And if you're watching sports, that's a big pain in the ass. Okay. On YouTube TV, they allow you, it's cloud-based DVR, and you can record infinite shows. Infinite. Like every show you like.
Dude, Dave is all like, for those of you who cannot see him right now, he just looks like a giant cherub. His cheeks are puffy and
I have
pink
been
and
waiting.
happy.
I've been waiting to cord cut because I hate paying that much for cable when I don't watch that much on it. And this allows you to watch. You basically stream it. You can stream it to your computer, or you can stream it to a Chromecast, which you can hook on the back of your TV. The quality's not great. It's like 1080, I think, at best. Some are a little bit less.
So only 1080.
Well, it doesn't.
HD?
That is HD, but it's not as good as like it's not 4K. And some cable companies do offer 4K.
Yeah, but it will be
4K TV. And you have the issue of the streaming in a buffer, which I haven't run into yet, but I imagine at some point I will, because YouTube is notorious at like just stopping and waiting. But at the moment, it seems like a very, very good deal, and I can't believe like the DVR is so friggin' awesome. It's just amazing. $35 a month. Goodbye, cable. That's all.
That
What's
was a
funny
great
is
ad read, Dave.
right,
What?
to imagine that in the voice of an ad read. One of my least favorite things in the world, right up there with global hunger, is morning zoo commercials. Like, aren't those the best? Where the people pretend that they're just having a casual conversation and they talk about how great like laser, waxing is or something like that.
It is the worst.
All right. What did you got, Sean?
I've taken all the air out of the room. I see.
Well,
my great.
I've been falling back on a lot of shows lately, but
Yeah, Google. If you had YouTube TV, you wouldn't.
well, no, wouldn't I? Because I'd be watching even more TV.
I thought you said you've fallen. Yeah.
No. I've fallen back on my something cool is usually a show, like it's another show.
Oh, okay.
And so, have you started Ozark yet?
Me? No. I haven't been watching much of anything.
I'll add that to the list of things that I'm never going to get to.
I do want to see it though.
Yeah, it's really solid, and you'll really like it. And dude, I think that you need to. I swear, even if you just get Hulu for a month, watch *Handmaid's Tale* and cancel it. It is so up your alley. It's all misery being heaped on misery, centered around reproduction. Like it's like all the children in jeopardy, not just like
All of them,
All of
unborn
them.
ones.
Yes.
Now it's a
Yeah.
morning zoo commercial combined with all the children in Jeopardy. All of them? Are you sure?
Dave, it's all the children forever.
Not just the children that are living in the moment, but all the children forever.
Yes, there's never been children more in jeopardy than in *Handmaid's Tale*.
They
It is
stole my thing.
your
I have to have a talk with Margaret Atwood.
it is your jam. So you absolutely need to see that. But no, Ozark is right up your alley too. I'm not too deep into it. I think we're on episode 4. But enough to know I like it. Enough to know I really like the vibe. I like what they're trying to do. And I really like Jason Bateman also. And I think that.
Side note: when I was in middle school, I was told that I looked like Jason Bateman at the time. Now I guess I look like a fat Jason Bateman.
No, I actually can see that. I see why somebody would say that. I got
They
about
fell on their head.
so like it wasn't really fair.
Jason Bateman isn't in this. He's just saying that he really likes Jason Bateman. I like Ham.
And I didn't know until after the first episode, but it's also it's produced and directed by Jason Bateman too. And I like him. I like him a lot. And I think that he's not always used to his best abilities. And I think
just like me.
He is in this. And so anyway, Ozark, it's got like lies, deception, all the good stuff.
Has he got Children in Jeopardy?
Well, yeah, it does have children.
All right.
Actually, it has drug dealers threatening to shoot his children's faces off.
Add to queue. All right.
Very good. Mine, in the spirit of a true something cool, which means that it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with anything, although I found it cool this week, is I want to say about 2 months ago, Sean gave me a gift certificate for a company called Perfect Cloth, which is a made-to-measure shirt company. So, or anything, I guess. They do.
Wow, this is just filled with ad reads today.
Yeah, well, because it's something cool. Like, and something cool is kind of an ad read.
If only we knew somewhere we get book covers designed.
Book covers designed. And basically, what they do is you submit measurements, and they build shirts for you. I believe it's men, right?
Why didn't Sean say that to me?
He thought you might not care about made-to-measure shirts, I guess.
It didn't seem like your jam.
I don't have enough material.
But it was kind of a cool process, and I got the shirt because Sean and I have shared on this before. Like, we both kind of have proportions that, like, off the rack shirts just kind of don't really work. Like, Sean's all tall and stuff, and so
you got the abs.
And I got the abs. Like, they have a special cutout, right?
No,
like a see-through cutout, so everybody.
The truth is, I've actually shared a room with Johnny, and the truth is, he's concave. He's got it's the male equivalent of a push-up bra. They're like, it's abs. It's like ab shirts that he wears. It's crazy. He actually doesn't have them.
So anyway, I got the shirt, and it was kind of cool. It was kind of a cool experience to like pick a fabric and get the made to measure. But it was just a little bit off. And so they said, if anything's a little bit off, like, have somebody take pictures. And so I did some like abs glory shots, of course, just had nothing to do with the shirt, just because I wanted to submit them. Just like, no, I didn't really do that. But then I submitted them, and the like, somebody got back to me, and they were like, okay, I suggest this, these like small changes, and that I hadn't even thought of. And they said, okay, send the shirt back. We'll send you a new one. We're going to remake it. It wasn't even alterations. It was like totally remake. They were going to like move the neck a half an inch forward and add darts in the back and stuff. And so I just got the new one a few days ago, and it's like super cool. Like, it fits, like, now it's like perfectly custom. And so I just thought that was really cool. So for anybody who is interested in that sort of thing, Perfect Cloth, thought that was neat. So now I kind of this is going to take.
You should do an ad read for us now, dude. There's like,
well, you guys made this joke, so now this is going to seem like whatever. But I do kind of wonder if anybody has anything cool about an event where you could go and like talk to other authors and learn a bunch of shit and increase your network's value or anything like that. Dave, I'm thinking like 40s Germany, right?
Wow,
because I can get back there.
Subtle way to do that. I'm not following that thread. Thank you. I've already been yelled at.
I'm not going to follow on that one. A place where
he's surrendering, just like France.
Some might say nothing to lose if you were to take a trip to Austin in February, maybe.
Dave's not going to play your reindeer games.
Nobody has any thoughts on this?
Am I going to be at this event?
Yes. Dave will be at this event on display in a like King Kong restrained.
Oh, I think we should do that. I actually think we should do that.
Oh yeah, that's a great idea.
Can we change you and put you in a gorilla costume?
No.
I mean, that's probably like most of his day anyway, honestly. It's just a different venue. So basically, Smarter Artists...
Morgan is buying her ticket today, ladies and gentlemen.
Ooh. Well, the Smarter Artist Summit, for those of you who don't, have other options for where to see Dave in a cage and all this other stuff, is September. I'm sorry, September. It is February 26th and 27th of 2018 at the Renaissance Hotel in Austin, Texas. What's cool about the Renaissance is we've had a bunch of events there. If you were at last year's event, the room is like 3 times that size. Like it's this really big, cool ballroom. We've done a bunch of stuff at the Renaissance. We absolutely love them there. It's away from downtown, so there's a bunch of cool stuff right around. I want to go to the steakhouse, Sean. I want to go to where you get the meat sweats. Basically,
I loved staying at the Renaissance, and I hope that I am this year. Maybe.
I don't know. We'll see.
Goddamn bed and breakfast, or
might have to put you in Airbnb.
Oh yeah,
Dave's pushing for the Renaissance.
So the Smarter Artist Summit is at smarterartistsummit.com, February 26th and 27th, like I said, in Austin. And I just so you know, guys, the price will go up. I actually don't have the actual date, but it will.
It's soon.
Only at early bird pricing. So if you want to get in now. And that would be the real ad read. Too bad we blunted it by 2 kind of former ad reads.
For Cloth and YouTube TV.
I know, but fuck them, right? Like just get your Smarter Artist Summit tickets. That's all we care about. Fuck everybody.
Well, if you get the YouTube TV, you're saving enough money within a few months to get a ticket. I mean,
that's
really.
very true. No, that's very, very true.
Now, I'd say fuck that custom shirt thing, because I'm sure that's very expensive. You know,
the whole Smarter Artist Summit experience is going to be
Dude,
less.
wait, it's actually I don't mean to like further the commercial for Proper Cloth here, but it's actually
shows that over
for getting a dress shirt like off the rack. It's
less expensive if you want
something
process that actually endures and doesn't fall apart and fits you right and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's cool. Propercloth.com.
Although the Smarter Artist Summit, I
actually don't know if that's the URL even. I just made
is going to be. It'll be a less because last year's was kind of an expensive proposition. It's a less expensive proposition this year. Like the hotel.
Yeah, we crossed a lot of yards to make sure that is the case because we weren't really on top of that as we should.
And don't book your plane tickets for sure yet because we're going to add stuff to one end or the other. Like we did the Best Launch Ever workshop. We're going to do some sort of a workshop. I want to say at the end, but I'm not positive on that. So just hold back on that. You can email Christine if you really want to get the early thoughts on that. So, all right. So let's move into talking about just-in-time learning. That is not some guy named Just-in-Time.
That's what I thought it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, I was going to tell a story about just in case, but I decided not to. So I'm going straight back into our topic. So just-in-time learning is kind of a concept that I don't know how widespread it is. And I don't even remember when I first heard the term. I want to say it was maybe like 2 years ago or something. But it really resonated with me. And it's kind of something that I religiously practice now. And so it's something I wanted to talk about with everybody. And it's actually...
I feel like we're being indoctrinated into a cult.
Well, no, it's really simple. It's just the idea that, well, what do you think, Dave? What do you think just-in-time learning is?
Something to do
other than Justin's philosophy.
I don't know. Learning something at the very last minute before you need it. I got no idea. If so, that's pretty much what I did for school all through.
Well, yes, yeah. That's
1
exactly
minute before test. Read the book.
No, that's well, no, not exactly. But I'm going to frame this between like the way I used to do things and the way I do things now. So when I first started online, I just read everything I could possibly get my hands on, and I would just consume it and just go straight through it as fast as I possibly could. And then when I started working with Lori, like she would buy any info product like in the world. And so if I saw something interesting and I said, hey, I want to buy that and learn this thing, she was like, all right. So I was able to buy and consume a lot of stuff. And I just kind of learned a little bit about a lot of different things. And that was really fun. And I think that it really helped me kind of have a foundational knowledge base that's helped us to put a lot of, disparate blocks together. But now that's not the way I learn at all, because I don't need that so much at this point.
It makes procrastinator's way.
It makes a lot more sense to just, okay, I'm going to learn this one thing, so now I figure it out. So, to put this in author's perspective, so anybody can get this. It's like, if you haven't written your first book yet, it doesn't make sense to go learn all about cover design and formatting and story structure and Facebook ads and all of these different things when you haven't written your book yet. Like, that's a terrible way to leverage your time. What makes the most sense is to learn everything that you can about the book that you're writing. Excuse me. So let's say you're writing a thriller and you need to know how poison works, because that's part of it.
Because I don't know the answer.
No, I mean the song by Bell Biv DeVoe.
You're
You're breaking down the chord structure because it's driving me out of my mind. Dave, you're gonna sing?
What? No.
No. So you would need to learn about poison. You would need to learn anything you can for that book. That makes a lot more sense than going to figure stuff out about how to format your book. But I think there's a lot of people who it makes sense. They want to over prepare. They just want to get everything they can. Before I self-publish, I'm going to know all there is to know about self-publishing. I'm going to learn all about the marketing funnels and all of this. And that's kind of putting the cart before the horse.
I'm going to listen to 300 episodes of SPP before I write a word.
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, there are people who tell us, I've been listening to your show for 4 years, and I think I'm going to do it this year. Well, good. Don't let another year go by saying that same thing. And so just-in-time learning is the idea that you learn what you need to learn and dive deep as you can when you need to learn that thing. So I think, Dave, this goes really well with you, actually. When you're outlining a story, you'll dive really, really deep into researching this old case or that case or something, where you're seeing how it kind of worked so you can put those pieces together. So you do this instinctively on a really creative level. But I think with all of our
I do it out of sheer laziness. Like, I only want to learn the thing I need to know. Nothing else. Thank you.
Well, when your full-time job is writing, then you need to be as sharp as you can with your hours. And if your full-time job isn't writing and you're trying to fit your writing into little tiny pockets, then you need to be even sharper with those hours. So being really diligent about what you need to learn and when you need to learn it and how much you need to learn, I think is a really valuable skill that we could all, stand to sharpen a little bit more, because you shouldn't just hopscotch to one thing, but be disciplined about, I need to learn this thing because it's going to help me accomplish this thing, whether that means finishing your book or packaging your book or marketing your book or starting on your next book or collaborating with other people, whatever it is. Why are you choosing this set of activities?
So what would you say to the objection of, social media is a big deal right now, and I need to pay attention to social media, and I need to be out there, and I need to be talking to people and growing a list or something like that? Like, if there's a latest like Facebook strategy or something.
Well, I think it depends on where you are. I think your learning has to be specific too. I think trying to learn everything about social media is ridiculous. I think choosing a target, am I more comfortable? Am I a Twitter person? Am I a Facebook person? Am I an Instagram person? Because trying to navigate all three of those, unless you're a social media butterfly, which maybe you are, but probably not. If you're working and you're an author, you probably have time for one, maybe two. And so figure out what those are, and one at a time, figure out how to really learn everything you need to learn to leverage that. It could be Tumblr. I mean, for YA, Tumblr is a great space. If you're writing in the LGBT community, Tumblr is a great space, and maybe that's where you put your attention. But think about where your readers are going and where you need to learn. Now, a great way to use social media in this just-in-time learning paradigm is to get the information you need. Because if we were all writing 20 years ago, I mean, it's not just the manual typewriters that used to make this so much harder once upon a time. It was the research. We didn't have Google. We didn't have experts. I mean, you can get expert information just by reaching out to people on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, just reaching out to them. And they're people who really, really know their shit. If you have a quick question, ask. And that, I think, is a great way to use social media, to be out there and to let your readers see that you're reaching out to experts to, hey, just ask, I'm writing my new book, just, have a quick question. And that's a neat exchange. You can use that as part of your art and just-in-time learning.
Yeah, I think that's the point, is that the world has changed. So, people talk all the time. This is something that actually has come up in our fiction for some reason, is that education is kind of behind, right? Like, the world has moved on, and a lot of education is still mired in sort of an old paradigm. And the way that school kind of teaches, the way that we're all a little trained, is you learn everything, right? Like, so if you're going to publish a book, you got to learn it all. And if you're going to do social media, go out and learn it all. And what we're arguing for here is wait until something seems to be an apparent need, and then go and delve in. And also, sort of a corollary to that is that learning one thing and doing one thing well is typically going to be better than trying to learn everything and doing everything half-assed. So when we tried to do, for instance, social media, we just mentioned that, we tried to learn it all and to do social media in the great catastrophe of 2015, I think it was, where we just tried to okay, we'll do all this shit. No. It's better to just do one thing well, one thing, rather than trying to do everything.
Yeah, we're getting better at accomplishing more because we're choosing to do less. And I think that the things that you consume, that's very much true. If you really want to accomplish a lot with what you're putting into your brain, then make sure it's really applicable to what you're trying to produce. So I think, and we've talked about this before too, making sure that there's alignment with what you're consuming with the things that you're creating, because it's harmonizing your input and your output. It's making sure that your world is all kind of in the same key, and it allows you to see those intersections really well. So I think it's about the media too that you consume. So if let's say you read a fiction book every day because, not every day, but you read a little bit of fiction every day, you read a book every week or 2 weeks or whatever you're reading, it makes sense to, when you're choosing your fiction book, to choose it with intention and think about the things that you're trying to fill your head right now. What are you trying to consume? Are you trying to learn a genre? Are you trying to learn about a specific subject? Then maybe pick a fiction book that ties into that subject in some way, so that you'll have light bulb moments as you're reading, and let somebody else's art inspire your own. But it's really just about doing things with intention and timelines, and understanding what kinds of things am I going to want to be learning in the next month, 2 months, 3 months? What kind of art am I going to be creating in the next month, 2 months, or 3 months? And how can I make those things intersect? Because the more that you do that, I think the stronger your foundation is, not just for the art that you can create, but for the momentum that you can continue to have, because you're constantly iterating on your own behavior, your art, and your accelerative process.
And
right. The important thing to go ahead.
How do you go about finding the things that you're going to, use for research or for inspiration, or whatever? What books, what TV shows, podcasts, whatever? How do you find which ones will actually serve you as opposed to be a waste of your time?
Well, that's a really good question. How do you normally find the things that you like? So how do you find video games that you like, or music that you like, or anything?
For music, I usually will. I'll go through YouTube, or I'll listen to whatever Apple has on their current playlists. Typically, I know music pretty well though, so I don't really need any help there. For video games, I pay attention to the news sites on video games. I watch some YouTubers and stuff talk about them.
Yeah, I would say that's exactly my answer. That you're relying on the curation of other people that you trust.
Yeah.
So for me, I will go and I will look if it's a subject like movies. There are sources that I look for, and a lot of times I'm doing that if I'm trying to kind of outline a project. And one of the first things that we always do internally is, what tone does this have? Like what tone?
Kidding.
And
what bigger and bigger.
Yeah, like what vibe is this? So and here's an in-home example. The thing that I'm mapping out right now, one of the reference points is Almost Famous. So 2 weeks ago on movie night, we watched Almost Famous because it was movie night, I wanted to show the children something that they hadn't seen before that we could talk about, but that was also, harmonized with the things I was trying to think about and steep in. And so that was in its own way, just in time learning. Not that I needed to learn anything there, but if I was trying to, because I've seen Almost Famous several times, so that wasn't really learning as much as spending time with an old friend, kind of. But if I was looking for that reference point for Almost Famous, because a lot of times if you're looking for tone or vibe and you're at that really, really early part of a project, you may not really know. And you're actually looking for inspiration. It's almost like doing a mood board in a way. Where you're trying to kind of figure out the way that this is going to work. And actually, there's a project, Johnny, I will not get specific on this at all, but there's a project that Johnny's had the very, very seeds, like the kernel of an idea of for a couple of years, like a long time now, I think.
Yeah, it's been like 2 years.
And I could it's something that is, because he's not the beats guy, he's not the Genesis guy, but he really wants to be for this project, and you could tell it's important to him. And so we're starting to talk about the very earliest parts of what this can possibly be someday. And what are we talking about? Vibe, tone,
right? I mean, the central thing is a song.
Like, yeah, like reference points, which I love constructing from the core that way. I think it's a wonderful way to outline. But doing that, you have to think, what are the pieces that I'm putting in, and why am I choosing to do that? And so if I'm looking for what are my cultural touchstones, I may start Googling to find lists of people who have been asking the same questions as me. What are the best movies about this subject? And maybe that'll turn me on to a movie I didn't know about, or some kind of reference point I didn't know about. If it's authority pieces, like, I don't know, maybe I'm doing a book about dreaming, and I don't want to Google for articles about dreaming. What I want to find is authority people, like maybe somebody who has a blog about dreaming, and that like they're curating cool articles about dreaming and kind of interpreting those articles about what it means. They're filtering it through their experience. So I would find a few sources like that and just really absorb them as much as possible. Now, when you're like, this is one of my favorite parts of the process. This is where there is just shit all over the desk. I love this part. This is actually, I'm really deep into this part right now. And I'm reading a lot of articles all over the place. And I don't quite know where the story is going, but there's the thrill of, I know it's all coming together, and it feels right. It feels really good. And right now, this is a particular project that I'll be writing with Johnny, and I can feel his words and his energy and how they're going to capture these larger ideas. And that's really exciting. And the way I'm doing that is just kind of hopscotching all over the place, and again, looking for that kind of information, curated lists. And it's hard to get specific examples, without getting into the meat and potatoes of the story itself, but they're little isolated pockets of stuff that I can go deep in. And I think that the more that you can learn to do that, the more focused your work is going to be, the more focused your outlines are going to be, and the more you're going to eventually have a lot of momentum.
One thing about curation, I think Apple News is awesome for curation. It's on iPad. It's not on the desktop yet. I hope it is with the next update that they have. But Apple News is pretty amazing, and you can select the topics. I mean, it starts with a bunch of stuff like the most popular stuff on there, but you can like love the thing, or you can save it, and it basically curates to your tastes. So I have just a tremendous feed of things, which all of like science and movies and stuff like that, things that video games, sports, all these things that I have interest in that I want to learn more about. Apple News pretty much curates to my tastes, and the more you read something, the more it delivers that thing to you, and it's pretty good resource because, like Sean's saying, you don't want to dive into all these different things all at once, but you can save articles to your iPad or whatever, or your phone, and you have those there that you can go to. And like I said, the more when you do a little heart and you love it, it'll suggest more stuff to you. So I mean, I get a ton of like science articles delivered to me all the time, and all of these things like give me like cool ideas of things that we can do. And that's just one little thing I wanted to.
Yeah, one point of elaboration on when you're in this gathering phase, and I love where Dave's going with the Apple curation, because it's multiple sources. And I think that whenever you dive deep, if you find somebody and you just love like their voice on this, and you love their sense of curation and what they're pulling in, and you gather all your information from them, well, you're kind of just cribbing their shit. So like, knock it off. Like, pull your information from multiple sources so that you can find intersections and create something truly unique, even if you're pulling it from different places, because that's the interpretation. If you're just finding one source and then taking all of that source to build the foundation for your new thing, there's a purity that's lacking there.
I pull all of mine from my ass, so it's very pure.
John, you look like you're going to say something.
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to, the idea of steeping, I think that this is important, because I think that a lot of times the way that we approach learning is it's very fact-based. It's like, boy, I need to learn about police procedures in Maryland. And so, you know, you study that or something like that. Like, there's a specific thing that you're trying to learn, whether it's something that you're going to use to about your craft or something for research for your project or something like that. But it's like, I'm going to learn this thing and I'm going to take notes. Like, it's the sort of thing where I take notes. And the sort of stuff that Sean was talking about earlier, where you're just kind of experiencing, I think is overrated and or underrated. And it's something that you should do a lot of. So the book that we're going to be writing coming up I'm actually starting on a Tuesday. Sean gave me kind of he did several things. So he gave me a playlist, which he started he had a few songs, and then he gave it to Haley to pick out more. So I have this list of 25 songs that all have a similar sort of vibe and stuff. And so I'm feeling the vibe of that. And he gave me some movies to watch and also some technical stuff. So I read Robert McKee's book Dialogue, which is great. And just continues to add to that, like kind of the tactical arsenal, but also just movies that I hadn't seen before, that I hadn't seen in a while. And we've done a lot of that. We did that back since Unicorn Western. And I think that readers feel that. And I think that when there are successful authors who are like commodity authors, where it's like, okay, well, I like this book, but I also like this book that's totally unrelated by somebody else. And, you know, I'm just going to read it once and I'm going to forget it. But if you want to be one of those memorable authors who people go back to again and again, like, there's a reason that those things resonate, and it's this sort of thing. So taking the time to really feel the story and like, what is the vibe? What are the touchstones? What are the things that I can pull from that aren't necessarily easy to note down on a piece of paper is very, very worth the time, and also hard to quantify, but do it anyway. Those are my notes.
I was just pausing to let Dave jump in if he wants to, but no. Okay, so I actually made a little list here of things that are like big benefits of this, because I think it's easy to dismiss this and think, okay, got it. So when I need to learn something, I learn it, right? And it's like, because it's such a simple concept, but I think it's something that, unless you actually put a lot of intention behind it, it's not something that you naturally do. But because there's something different about day-to-day work and research or training time, and they shouldn't necessarily blend in. If you're trying to create your work and you're going to learn something while you should be writing, that's not what I mean by just-in-time learning at all. Set that aside and make learning a normal part of your ritual, a normal part of your day. Like, actually set aside time to consume new things and fill your tank and learn the things. Like, have a little checklist of things that you want to learn and be really intentional about it. And when you come across a part in your story, you can tag that and then go learn that thing, but go on with your story. Don't let it derail you from the story. That's absolutely not what I mean. Right. Because it really, really slows down word count. You're in and out of the story. You need to say, okay, tag, I'll come back to that later. And that's a really efficient way to work. And it's also, more importantly, a really efficient way to learn and retain the information. So These are the 6 things that I think are really what makes this worth doing and sticking with and making a habit. It enhances your productivity for all the reasons that we've talked about. It improves your accuracy, because think about the lag between learning and application and the loss of knowledge that you have during that time, right? I mean, you learn something and it just gets buried under layers of bullshit as your life goes on, and you can't, extract it. It's just not on the surface anymore. But
yeah, I know how to write code in BASIC. It's doing me a lot of good now.
Right? You need to find ways to use your long-term memory to tell the deeper parts of your story, but the short shifts that you need to get through that little part, that's a different thing, and you can't get pulled out. Build momentum, because you're going faster, and the faster that you go on a story, the faster that you go on a story, that is how it happens. Momentum breeds momentum, but inertia goes exactly the other way. It can keep you free from feeling overwhelmed, because if you're stopping your story every few moments to go and look something up, not only do you not have any momentum, you also feel like, oh man, like this is crazy. I'm not getting anything done. But if you're actually in your 90-minute block of absorbing time and learning, and you're going through your checklist of things you wanted to learn, that's actually fun. You're not going to feel frustrated because you're being kept from your best creative work. You're going to feel empowered to do better creative work. And
yeah, I mean, I did some just-in-time learning when my family was away, and I had 3 nights where I could watch movies.
Well, it does not count. I've told you this before.
I learned a lot of stuff, though.
I think that this accelerates the learning process. And lastly, I think this is most important, it optimizes knowledge retention, because you're focused more on something specific and it directly applies to something that you're trying to accomplish. Your brain has every reason to just hug that like a big tub of popcorn at like an awesome movie. Like, it's just there. And the more that you can do that, just the better your work is going to be.
I would suggest researching before you go to bed, but I find that whenever I go to bed with an idea that I need to flesh out, I wake up in the middle of the night and start doing that.
Well,
I would say that's maybe not the way to go.
Yeah.
Well, it's sort of interesting, because like your sleeping brain goes to work on things, so sometimes it's quite helpful. I mean, sometimes I wake up with an answer that I was struggling with for days. So.
No, I really do. Actually, I like to, as I'm falling asleep, I like to think of, I try to untangle knots.
People you want to kill? Oh.
No, never. That is the worst way to try to go to sleep.
I'm like Arya on Game of Thrones. I'm running down my list.
Wow. No, not me at all. So do you guys want to talk a little bit about implementation? Like, Dave, okay,
Boy, would I.
Yeah, well, would you actually ever...
He's sad he has to be here.
Would you ever be disciplined enough to do that, to say, you know what, I need to save that for learning time, and you actually have learning time and writing time, and separate them and have a queue of things you wanted to learn and handle it that way? Or is that just too foreign?
Well, I do have blocks of time that I do use, but a lot of times when I'm like you don't know what you don't know sort of thing. So when I'm in something and I need to know it in order to get through a part, I got to know now. Like, my OCD brain will not let me go. And sometimes, like when I'm looking up something that I need to know, I'll see like something else that's related to something. Sometimes to my detriment, like I'll see something related to what I've already written and see, oh, I got that wrong. Shit, I better research. And then all of a sudden I'm in a research hole, which is like a YouTube hole where you're watching cat videos for 3 hours, but it's research oriented.
So how do you know when enough is enough? Because that happens to me all the time, for sure. But I know what my exit plan is. What is yours? How do you know when you have enough information to
when I
take care of the part of the story that you want to write?
I've answered the questions I had in my head, like, can this be this or this? Like, I need to feel like I know enough that the reader is confident in my ability to tell a story, and that I'm just not pulling shit out of my ass. So once I feel comfortable, like the same way when I was a reporter at the newspaper, I would talk to people, I would talk to experts until I felt like I could step in and do that job. Like I knew enough to do that. So I could relate it. And basically your job as a writer, especially as a reporter, is to digest very difficult things and make it so the average person can read and understand it and not wonder what the hell you're talking about. So that's me anyway.
Yeah.
But I'm a little obsessive.
Well, no, I think that's great. I think that the fact that you care about veracity, you know, I mean, obviously, and passionately, it makes your work, you know, stand out. But I do think you need to, I mean, you as a universal you, authors need to, you know, sharpen every tool that they have, and being able to put limits around it too, and say, get efficient. Because if you don't have any accountability like that, then it's spending 5 hours to answer a 1-paragraph question becomes okay. And that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So what would be the way that you would implement this, Sean? What would be the best strategy for moving forward with your plan to have a just-in-time learning strategy?
And can you say it without breathing?
I will try. I think you want to kind of create I don't know, a super detailed map, but a map so you know kind of what you want to learn. Like, let's say it's for a project, right? A specific project, a book or whatever, or maybe even a sequence, a piece of your book. But this is what I need to learn to get this done, and just have a queue. And if you have, you know, learning time, and maybe that could be dull time, maybe you use that for, you know, when you're standing in line somewhere and you have stuff accessible on your phone. But just, you know, have a queue. You have stuff ready to go. And if other stuff comes in that, you know, comes in sideways, oh, I didn't know I need to know that, but now I do, pop it into the queue. And really just focus on the few things that you need to really get to the next part of what you want to accomplish. And I also think it's important that, you know, the more knowledge you gather and the more capable you are, not just, you know, in life and in stories, in your, you know, publishing journey, be the just-in-time learning for other people. When you see other people struggling or need help, or they have a quick question, you know, reach out and help them answer that.
Maybe it's just-in-time learning for his wife whenever she loads the dishwasher wrong or something. So helpful.
One thing that I think is how do you organize these things that you're collecting, this information? Because personally, I think something like Evernote or another note-taking app, like Bear is a good one on Apple that's recently out, to really keep all your stuff so you don't forget. What do you use?
Story Shop. Like, are you setting me up?
Oh, that was not intended for it.
Do you guys realize this is okay? So this is so going to sound like another ad read, but this, by the time this show is out, Story Shop Writer will be live, like on the feed. Realize that? That's super.
Yeah. I did realize that, but I know Dave actually isn't setting me up. That's just how disconnected he is. It's awesome.
Because I'm not using Story Shop that way yet.
but I totally am. So at this point, I cannot imagine going back. No, that's where everything is housed. So you know, it's indexed, it's searchable, and I've spent every single you know, hour of my maker hours for the last like 3 weeks in Story Shop almost. So no, I couldn't do without it. I mean, I could, but it was messy. Before that, it was I just used the research folders in Scrivener and dragged a lot of stuff in there. But
that made the file size so huge.
Yeah, it's not the same. but yeah, that's how I track everything now.
And don't think of it as I'm learning. I mean, that's the thing. Like I think we talked about this early on when we were talking about, it was the first Unicorn Western stuff, and we were talking about research. And I think we had Joanna on, I want to say, to talk about research. And I think that a lot of us who've gone through, you know, normal school have this sour taste in our mouth when it comes to research and learning, right? Like, oh, I got to learn some shit. I got to research some shit. And it so doesn't need to be that way. Like, I would just say, realign your expectations on that sort of thing, because, for instance, I mean, I know this is the simplest of examples, but like watching movies to get the mood for a movie so does not feel like research. The stuff that Sean did for I don't know if you did for the Beam, or there was something where I like had a lot of nanobot sorts of things, and
that was for Plugged.
For Plugged, right? So you're adding depth to your story world, and honestly, I think the opposite is true. It's not that I would have trouble doing it. It's that I'd have trouble not feeling guilty that I was doing it. It's almost like you have to give yourself credit that it actually is research and that you actually are working. Because you can write very surface level, you can do a very passable job with anything that you do. But again, readers are going to feel that, you know.
Beth says, I think a lot of people starting out get overwhelmed with everything they need to learn. Doing it this way, like Sean says, what you need right now kind of takes the scary crap out of it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, there's so much to learn as an indie author. So much. So what do you learn? Just what you need. Like, there could be the best email marketing course ever out there. And it's, you know, like, let's say it's $2,000 and you could get it right now for $199. It's still a bad idea because that's not what you need right now. It's just not. Focus on what you need to get to the next thing that you need, and then never be afraid to pay for the thing that you need at the time that you need it. But just do things in order and, you know, really focus on what is getting you to that next place.
You know,
Go ahead, Dave.
To what you were saying before about like research for school and stuff, like I felt that way when I was in school. Like if I had to research something, I was annoyed by it. I didn't want to. But when it comes to writing, like I have a natural curiosity about many things that I write about, so I can research it, and it doesn't feel like work because I'm learning something that makes the story better, whether it be like biotechnology or something that I have very little knowledge of and I'm just curious about it just to make the stuff a little better, or something I do know a lot about, just to become expert in that. It's a curiosity thing more than a work thing, I think.
Exactly, but I can
like anyway.
I can't remember. That's the key, though, right, Dave? It's writing what you like.
Permission. That's what the way I found it. It's the other way around. Can I do this? Can I allow myself to do it?
And you have to almost stop, as you know. The old joke with Dream Engine was, Johnny says, "When I know what color their flags are, it's time to stop." Right? So you have to know when to stop, but within that context, like I cannot remember the last time that I researched something that I wasn't super into researching. That's the thing. It's almost like the stuff I'm researching now is so much fun. I have to put limits on it and say, look, if I can't find the answers I need in an hour, then I'm clearly writing this wrong and need to reframe it, because that's what you have to do.
And just about learning in general, one of the things that I've noticed is, see if anybody else shares this sentiment, but I know that for it's interesting. I'm at the stage where I'm like learning my own patterns now. You'd think I would have known them by now. But like I've noticed that my pattern with learning is, if I'm learning something brand new and I don't know anything about it, there's an inevitable period of overwhelm. Like I just know at this point. Like there's this point where I'm going like, oh my God, I am never going to figure this shit out. And I've learned to just chill, right? Like you don't need to know all that. And that's the point of this, is you only need to know certain things. You only need to know like a few steps ahead of you in the fog. But I know when I learned Photoshop or something like that, like, oh my God, I'm never going to figure this out. And so you just kind of have to have the patience to sit through that. No, you'll learn what's necessary.
Yeah, I have still not learned all not even like 10% of what Photoshop can do. I learned what I needed to know to draw comics and to make book covers. Everything else, I have no fucking clue.
So look for Dave's Photoshop course coming soon.
I have no fucking clue.
Guys, I will just say in closing that we have a late breaking news. Can somebody do like a news bulletin? There we go. So Christine let me know that this show, for those of you who are live, this is going to matter less. But for those of you who are listening on the feed, this show is going to air on the last day of the early bird pricing for the summit. It's like we planned it. So if you haven't gotten a summit ticket yet and you need to get one, you should do it today, unless you just like paying a lot more money. It's smarterartistsummit.com. And if you like spending a lot more money and wait till tomorrow, that's cool. Like, go ahead and do it. Just don't forget.
And don't yell at us.
Take care of my room.
Right. Take care of Dave's room.
Yeah. Okay. So if you want Dave to stay at the Renaissance, wait until tomorrow.
Yeah. If I stay at the Renaissance, it's more time to meet and greet with people.
Yep. So smarterartistsummit.com. The other thing that Christine wanted me to mention is that we do actually know what that the workshop is going to be. It's on the 28th, which is February 28th, which is the day after the summit. So the summit is 26th and 27th. So the 28th is a workshop called Boost Your Backlist, which is going to be about getting the most out of backlist titles, which just kind of sit there and fester. So for instance, right now, Fat Vampire is actually doing really well. That's backlist. Like we haven't done anything with that.
Don't tell anybody.
Yeah, we'll reveal all the secrets in the workshop. Now there's nothing on the smarterartistsummit.com site to like get that. You just need to be on the list, on the Sterling and Stone, the Smarter Artist list, which is sterlingandstone.net/repeater, I want to say. Christine will put a link in the chat. And just make sure that you're on that, but don't book your flights is what I'm saying. If you're interested in that, just allow for maybe the extra day. And that's it. That's all I will say. Anybody else have anything to add before we close up shop for today?
Just peace out.
Peace out. Don't forget your summit tickets, smarterartistsummit.com, and proper cloth, maybe. Just get a shirt.
And YouTube TV.
YouTube
TV. All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Later.